Byzantine art and architecture remains remarkably constant in its style from the time of Justinian to the 1400s and beyond. So, of course, you know now very well the great church of Hagia Sophia in the 500s. Here's another church we'll look at, a church dedicated to Hosios Lukos, St. Luke, a monastery church, and it's built in the 11th century, so around the year 1000, roughly. And you can see right away the continuity that is so much a part of Byzantine art. We still have that architectural language established in Justinian's time. The dome set above the nave, floating on a ring of light from curved windows, the interplay of arcades, curves, and straight piers, straight lines. And moving into Middle Byzantine art, the 800s, we see, let's look here at the apse mosaic of Hagia Sophia, a mosaic of the Virgin and Child added to the apse of Hagia Sophia in the 860s. And yet, of course, the figurative style is exactly the same elongated, floating, stylized bodies, frontal shoulders that you remember from the Justinian and Theodora mosaics and from the icons that we've been studying. There is a stereotype that Byzantine art and architecture is static, compared to our world, obsessed with innovation, where the next new thing quickly becomes obsolete. The stability of Byzantine art looks unusual. To Byzantine eyes, that stability was about staying true to the established spiritual authority of the past. The style was maintained because the style had great spiritual power. That being said, Byzantine art and architecture does show subtle changes and developments over time in its middle and late periods if you look carefully. So if we turn back to that monastery church, the monastery of Hosios Lukos. So this is in a Greek village, which is why it has the Greek name Hosios instead of the Latin San Vitali. Hosios and Hagia are Greek forms for, in Latin, San Saint Vitali. So if we look here, the first thing you might notice, actually, is the exterior of the church. This exterior is more ornamental, more decorative, maybe we could even say visually playful, than the kind of exteriors of churches that we've seen so far. From Santa Sabina in Rome to Hagia Sophia, the first centuries of Christian architecture, the buildings had exteriors that were deliberately plain, maybe even drab. They wanted the contrast between that plain exterior versus the gloriousness found inside, since that expressed what it meant to become a Christian and to be promised salvation. Here at Hosios Lukos, some of that sort of delightful beauty of ornamentation has moved from the interior to the exterior, so that you have different colors of stone, creating a contrast between the red of the brick and then the grayer stones, and different kind of stone, these sort of thick ashlar masonry versus stone that is more regular in even little cubes, different patterns playing off each other. And this seems to be the influence of Islam back into the Byzantine tradition. We looked at the Dome of the Rock to talk about how close it is to San Vitali in Ravenna. The Dome of the Rock presents to the world this exterior ornament that is a complex interplay of geometric and organic features and forms, marble panels, inlaid patterns, and of course, the reflective dome. So the Hosios Lukos Church has this interplay on the exterior that's not as ornamental in terms of color as we saw in the Dome of the Rock, but certainly the texture, the materials, even the roof, right? The terracotta roof, the tiled roof against the various surfaces. So we have surface complexity and intricacy on the exterior, and it's still a centrally planned building that's within a cube, a domed cube. These Middle Byzantine churches like this are often called high-shouldered because there's this way in which the cubic forms of the corners are quite elevated against the dome. And then when you go in the interior, you still have the ring of windows, you still have the dome, you still have the arches. But unlike Hagia Sophia, where you have that vast openness, that sweeping grand space, here the emphasis is much more on an interplay of flat and concave against each other. So the kind of flat, squared forms against the curving, concave forms, a projecting forward and a receding back, which we saw at San Vitale in Ravenna. Still communicating awe, majesty, and mystery, but here with more of a kind of intricate complexity at play.